Hello and welcome to my channel. This has been the long anticipated school bus cozy that we're going to focus on today. It is made with half double crochet, so if you'd watched my previous video for the tutorial for half double crochet, you should be hopefully comfortable with enough to do this cozy. The only other thing that might trip you up would be that we're working in the round for the wheels. We will be learning the magic circle, but I will show you an alternative if the magic circle confuses you. We'll also do the back stitch for this part right here. But we will be working the base part of the cozy in rows and then sew up the seam at the end. So I do have a written pattern of this, so if you need like your eyes on it, you can check that out in my Etsy shop or at Ravelry. Both the links will be in the description below. And because I already made this tutorial, but it didn't get posted because we had a crazy storm on Monday, and somehow in the chaos my video got deleted. I have an extra, and I was thinking I will do a giveaway on this channel when I hit 100 followers, and I will just periodically stuff like this put in a pile in like a bag to collect for when that comes, and I will do a big giveaway. So if you like this but you're like, I can't make this, get people to follow me and then we'll get a giveaway done sooner. I do sell these also in my Etsy shop, so if you're wanting it for your bus driver or yourself, but you haven't figured out the crochet thing, you can also purchase this from me. So today's tools, what you'll need is a pair of scissors, a 4.5 millimeter hook, a coffee cup. Not required, just kind of makes it easier for you to test it. I usually keep an old one that I cleaned out on my desk for such things, and a tapestry needle. Of course, where would we be if we didn't have yarn? Right there is our yarn. I had it all laid out. You will need a yellow, a gray, a light gray, a black, a white, and a red. So these I got from, well, all of them except for like these two right here. These are I Love This Yarn. These were are extras I have from my closet that I'm trying to use through, but I do have I Love This Yarn in there too. The difference really is just for whatever reason, the acrylic from I Love This Hobby Lobby is super soft, so I try to use it for most of my projects, but sometimes the color I can't get it in that color, so I have to go with a different brand. And these were just quick pickups of Red Heart Super Saver because I can get it locally without having to like make a drive. So let's get started. Because I've already done the tutorial for the half double crochet, I will not be taking my time talking over how to do the stitches. I'm just going to simply do them. I will do periodic pauses each row to minimize the video's length and come back to you at the end of each row to then tell you what you're doing next. So I will give warnings so you can pause and work along with me. So you're going to start with your black, which is why I have it here, and I'll move in closer for you guys. And we are going to chain 36. So get that slip knot on there and go to town. Once you chain 36, you are going to go to this second chain from your hook and single crochet in every chain after that. So you should end this part with 35 single crochets on the foundation row. I'm going to pause quick so I can count these, and I will come back after I have the 35 single crochet on this foundation hook. Remember, you start in the second chain from your hook. I might pop on here real quick just to show you guys that. Okay, 36 chains. Gonna bring you in a little closer because it's kind of hard to see with black. So here it is on the hook. There's the first chain, there's the second chain. Gonna go into that second chain, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. That's your single crochet. I'm gonna do that across. We should have 35 when we're done. I will see you at the end so we can do a color change. I'll show you the color change in the last stitch of this row, so leave that one blank. And then we will go into our next row. Okay, we're back. Your foundation row is probably being curly. I'm stretching mine out right now. You don't need to worry about that too much. The curl will come out as we work this. So we're getting ready to change to yellow. But to make it kind of seamless, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into that last chain, my last stitch, and yarn over and pull through. So I have 2 loops on my hook because this is single crochet. Before I do my last yarn over and go through, I'm going to tie the yellow onto the black yarn. And then I'm going to tuck it up against the work. And I'm going to take my yellow and yarn through and go through both loops. What that does is that now makes it so my starting loop for the next stitch is yellow. So I'm not blending black and yellow into a yellow, what's supposed to be a yellow stitch. So I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work, yarn over, go through both the little V part. In case you are still new, when you're looking at the top of a stitch, there's 2 little loops there. We haven't talked about how you can use those yet, but we will. You're going to go through both of them, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3. That's your half double crochet and your tutorial for it. If you're not sure on how to do that, please go back to my video tutorial on how to do half double crochet, and it will get you through that. This row we're going to do completely in yellow. All the way across, you'll have 35 stitches. So go ahead and pause your video till you get it done and come back and see me for the next one. Before we go though, if you have this tail here, which you do because I do too, I'm gonna pull back a little. This black tail, leave it enough on there so you can use it to sew the edges together at the end. Okay, that row's done. You need to chain 1 so you can turn your work. And then we're going to do 6 half double crochets in yellow. So when you get to number 6, you want to slow down so you can switch your color, because we need to switch to black. Okay, so going through just like normal, yarning over, pulling through. Now we're going to put the black string on this. There we go. And then put everything behind your work, yarn over, pull through all 3. If you are doing this right-handed, it should look the same. It's just yours will mirror mine, and because of that, you can use either side of the bust for the front. Now we are going to continue half double crocheting in black for 27 stitches. This means you should have 2 stitches left to do at the end of this that will be in yellow. So when you get to 27, we're going to switch to yellow, which I will come back and show you, and then we will go up to the next row. So get ready to pause and come back, hit play once you hit 27 stitches in black. Okay, I'm in my 27th stitch because there's 2 right there that still need done. I'm halfway through it, but I want to make sure that I start with yellow. So I'm going to cut my yellow from over here, leave a tail to weave it in, and then tie it on over here. And then I'm going to move that to the back of my work, all those strings, and then yarn over and pull through all 3. And then I'm going to half double crochet these last 2. And then chain, turn our work, and the next row is all yellow. So we will half double crochet across it, and I will come back at the end of this row so we can work on the next row because there will be more color changing in it. So now you will want to pause and get caught up, and I will see you at the end of what's row 4. Okay, end of that row, getting ready to turn my work, but before I do, I'm going to go ahead and cut my black off of here. And chain 1 to turn. And now we are going to half double crochet 9. Bring you in a little. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And here is number 9. So I got it to that point. Now I need to add my black so I can have a smooth transition. Now you could, instead of cutting all these tails to have to weave them in, you could weave them into your work as you're crocheting. You'll kind of see how to do that when we work on the windows. I just don't do it when I have such a long space like this to work them in, typically. You also can do it just like with the tail and have it follow along like this. So what you would do is you just hold it there with a stitch, so you go down onto it and yarn over. And so you are weaving it in without having to use a tapestry needle, which is nice if you hate weaving in ends at the end. I mean, who doesn't? So right now with the black, you should be doing 24 half double crochet. And then to give you gauge, you'll have 2 stitches left over at the end, which will be yellow. So once I get this one done, oh, it just keeps going because I didn't. So whenever you're done, you feel like it has a long enough tail that you would again just cut it off and keep going. I will meet you at the end of this row with the 2 left to switch us back and tell you what our next row is going to be. Okay, so I actually have 3 stitches here. We need those 2 to be yellow, so I'm going into this last one as black, yarning over, pulling up, have 3 on the hook, 3 loops. So now I'm going to reattach my yellow. Get all those stitches in the back, yarn over, and now I'm doing yellow. So the next 2 rows are just going to be yellow. It'll be nice and easy for you. 2 rows in yellow, and then we'll come back and we will get those windows in our bus. So real quick, if you're struggling with this or feel like I'm going too fast or lost, I will one more time, even though I wasn't planning on it, show a half double crochet if someone's struggling with this. So I yarned over 1 right there. I chained 1 right here so I could turn the work. And so now I have yarned over 1 here to put it in under both loops of that stitch. And if you're right-handed, you'd be doing it the opposite way me. You can also go through this way, but I've been going through the back the entire time, so that's where I'm going to continue. It's just a personal preference. So I'm going to put my hook through the stitches and yarn over and pull through. So now I got 3. I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3. So now you should be going across this for 35 stitches for the next 2 rows. So you'll go all the way across 35, chain 1 to turn your work, and go 35 across here in yellow, and then come back and we will get the windows done. Okay, we got those 2 rows done, chained our work so we can turn, and the next 2 rows will be identical. So don't fret too much on that. And because there's so much color changing happening really quick, we are not going to cut these strings. We're going to put them on the side like I showed you down here where this little part's sticking out, and weave it in the back as we move along so it's still attached to the work. That will give you a definitive back and front because you're going to want to keep those strings on the side that your back is. If you're not sure which one's your back, that's fine. Just kind of try to make it as even as possible so that way you can see which side shows the white the best. And you'll see what I'm meaning as we get started. So let's get to our first window, which we need to half double crochet 5 in yellow, and then we will color switch. 2, 3, 4. Here's our 5th. That's where we have to start our color switch. Each window is the same. It is 3 half double crochets in white, and there will be a yellow half double crochet between each one, and you will have 5 windows. Yarn over, pull through. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this yellow. I'm going to move us in closer. Whoop. We're going to keep that yellow yarn right there up against our work and yarn over it and the stitch, and then yarn over and go through 3. And you're going to do that again. And as you can see what I'm doing, I'm just kind of tugging at it, and that's just to keep it tight in those stitches. And now we're getting ready to switch to yellow. So we're just going to drop that white, do that. And then we come to do the 1 stitch in yellow. So we're going to pick up that white right there against the stitches and yarn over with it right there. That just kind of keeps it moving along. But we don't want to yarn over with yellow because it's just 1 stitch. We want to yarn over with white. And now we're going to do again. Leave that yellow right there with everything. Yarn over. There we go. Pull it tight. And now we're on the third one, so we're going to have to switch to yellow. And now the first half of our second window is done. Again, we only do one stitch in yellow, so we want to finish it off with white so it comes up as white on our hook. Another one, two, and our third one for the window. Now, as you're going along, if you're doing exactly like me, you will notice the yellow and the white is getting twisted. Be patient with it. You're not in a hurry. It does twist like that. It can be annoying. You just kind of have to pull on it to straighten it out some. Okay, we have 3 windows done. We're getting ready to go into the 4th. Again, keep that yarn right there up against the stitch to kind of hold it together and keep it moving along with you. This cuts down having a ton of ends to weave in. It also allows you to work through this part of the pattern quicker. One, two, three, four. We are going into our last window. And when we get to the end, I'm going to show you. See, I'm having to kind of pull the strings apart by moving them down. Okay, last part of the window, we will switch back to yellow, but we're not cutting this white. We're going to leave it hanging there because we're going to be right back here in a moment. So you're going to finish this row in yellow, and then we're going to turn our work to do the exact same thing. So it's going to continue to be a little tangled. If the tangle is bothering you too much, this is where you would cut it and have one end to weave in if you can't handle the twisting. Okay. I am going to pause in part to help me untwist the white. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this part, chain 1, and come up here to right here, these last 2 yellow stitches, and I will be back there to help us go through these again. All right, we're already here, super fast. So I'll yarn into this one as normal. And then this next one, I'm going to start it with yellow. But now I want to put my yellow in the back and come over here and pull up this white and yarn over with it. And now we are ready to continue our windows. So the yellow's already in the back prepped. What I'm going to do is I'm going to... Sorry about that. Okay, so now we're going to do the exact same thing we did on this previous row. So I'm going to show you on one window, and then I will pause the video and meet you at the end. But you're going to make this row identical to the row we just did. If you're having problems with doing these windows, just rewind a little and watch that first row. So we're going to yarn over here and pull up that yellow again. And hold on tight to it as we move across so that way it doesn't peek through our window. If you're noticing it peeking through a little, just give it a little tug. It should be fairly minimal, but it does save us a lot of time. And again, we're going to switch to the yellow there and get that first spacer done and hold that yellow right in the back. Bring the yellow back up, and now we're on window 2. So go ahead and finish up this row just like that. I'll meet you at the end and we'll get our last 2 rows done. Okay, we are back and this is done. It's looking great. We can cut the white off. We only have 2 rows left. The next row is going to be in half double crochet still, so turn 1 or chain 1, turn your work. Get my words all bobbled up, and you are just going to do yellow all the way across. So 1 more row of half double crochet yellow. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video because there's nothing complex to this, and I will see you at the end to tell you what the last row is going to be. Okay, we are getting ready to do the last row, and it is, I'm looking at this and I didn't switch my color. So I'm going to actually undo my last stitch in the previous row and start my half double crochet and then switch to black. Not a big deal if you did it too. I forgot to mention that we needed to switch to black at the end, and I usually leave the last stitch to do on camera for the color change. So now you're going to chain 1 and turn. Leave a long tail on this yellow because you're going to use it to sew up the ends to make them into a nice circle. And now we are going to turn our work and single crochet across. So no more yarning over as you get started. Just through the stitches, yarn over, and pull through 2. That is your single crochet, and you're going to do it all the way across, and then we'll be done with this base. Before we sew it up, I'm going to go over a few things. So just get to the end of this row, and we'll go over what's next. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video so while we work on our single crochet across, single crochet across 35 stitches. Once you're done, you can unpause the video and see where I'm at because I'll be there too, and we will get this finished up. Okay, we are all done. You don't have to leave a super long tail because it's only 1 row here that's black, but you do want to leave a tail that you can sew the ends together. So the next part we would do is we would weave in all these ends. I'm going to do that off camera. I will just weave in 1 end quick just so you can see the process if you don't know how to do that. So when you have these ends that you started with, and I'm going to pull you guys in a little, you have that where you're switching colors, it's bound to happen. You just get your tapestry needle, which should have a pretty big eye, which will make it easy for you to put the yarn through. And then if you have a plastic tapestry needle, that's fine. The one I'm using just happens to be metal. And then you just weave it into each stitch of same color on the side that you have determined is the back of your work. And just like that. And then you'll come in with your scissors and get it as close as you can without touching your work. So I'll do 1 more right here, and then I will leave that for an off-camera thing. That way the video is not just you watching like 5 minutes of me weaving in ends. Not that it would take 5 minutes, but it could. And it just seems like there's better things to watch than that. So there you go. You've seen me weave in a couple of those ends. So all of these right here should be weaved in. This little yellow one needs weaved in, and those. You should only have really 3 ends, like this smaller black one would get weaved in. So you just want 3 longer strings at the end, 2 black ones, 1 on each end, and then the yellow one to sew up the edge to make it round. So the next part that we're going to go ahead and do is going to be the stop sign, and the wheels. We will also, wrong way. Also, while it's still flat, do the back stitch. This is one of those moments where I will say, you do you, boo. You can put all these pieces on when you've already sewn it together. You can back stitch it once it's already a circle. I've done it both ways, where it's laying flat and when it's already rounded, and I tend to get a more precise placement with everything when it's laying flat. It also makes it so I don't risk sewing both sides together. So we are going to do the magic circle real quick. And the magic circle is intimidating for many people, but it's not that hard. You're going to start off like you're making a slip knot. How I happen to do it is I cross it and then I pull my needle through, my hook through, and bring it up. Now I don't want to tighten this. Right now it kind of looks like a pretzel. Let's bring it in a little bit more. Oops. Oh, no, this way. Okay. When I'm holding it all kind of loose, it kind of looks like a pretzel. So I have this up here, and that's the start of my work. I have this is my pull string. So here's your yarn string you're going to work. So I'm going to yarn over once to chain, and now I'm going to go over both those two parts of the pretzel. I'm going to go under them to yarn over, and I'm holding the circle, the magic circle, on both sides so it doesn't move. As I yarn, bring it up, I'm going to yarn over and pull through both. Now that the initial single crochet is on there, it's not going to wiggle too much, and it's way bigger than what I need, but all I got to do is pull that pull string a little and it shrinkens the hole. So I'm going to go under both of those again and yarn over, pull up, yarn over, and pull through two. Now I got my second one. We're going to do this a total of 6 times, 6 single crochet into this circle. When you get to the third or fourth one, you're going to want to pull that string, the pull string, and make your hole smaller. So again, I should be taking my hook under the pull string and the circles string, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. I need 2 more. I'll bring you back. Oops, sorry. Just a hair so you can kind of see it at an angle. There we go. So you do have to sometimes move that pull string a little bit as you're doing this to get it out of your way. And here's the last one. Okay, and now you see there's that big hole. So I'm going to take my pull string of my magic circle and I'm going to pull it tight. And now it's super tight and it's just there. And now that I have that tight and secure, I'm going to make a knot so it doesn't get loosened. And then that is your stop sign. Yarn over, slip knot there to make it nice and smooth, and a tail for sewing. There we go. And that will go right there when I sew it on. So if you're not good with the magic circle or it intimidates you, the other thing you can do is a slip knot, chain 1 and 2, and then put your 6 single crochets in that first chain. So I'd go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Now the problem with that is this center hole that you're gonna have, you can't tighten it because you'd slip knot it. So if you don't like that hole being in your stop sign, you would have to make a long enough tail to kind of sew it closed before you sew the stop sign onto your bus. But that is another way to do it if you're not okay with the magic circle. You'll be also using the magic circle for the wheels. I'm going to do one wheel on camera and the other one off because they are identical. So you're going to make your crossover for your slip knot. Again, pull it through and leave it loose. Looks kind of like a pretzel. Tighten that up a little. Yarn over to get a chain. And we're going to again do 6 single crochets into this magic circle. 1, 2, 3, and now it's my circle is pretty big, and I'm at 3, so I'm going to pull my pull string, and that's much smaller, and it'll be easier to work with. The bigger the magic circle, it kind of moves all over on you, and it can be harder to manipulate. 4, 5, and 6. So now I'm going to pull that pull string, push it together real tight, and make a knot. There we go. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to slip knot, but I'm going to tie the black onto this. Or not slip knot, slip stitch. My bad, sorry. I'm going to be slip stitching, but again, I want it to start on black so I don't have gray in my black tire. So tie that. So then it yarns, it goes through the slip stitch, and then I'm going to chain 1. I'm now going to half double crochet increase in each stitch. So what that means is I'm going to put 2 half double crochets in each stitch, and that will make it so I'm going to have 12 half double crochets in this round. And because it's going around instead of in a straight row, we are working in the round. Now what I did over here when I started is when I did that chain, I counted it as 1. So you'll actually have 11 half double crochets and a chain. If it looks weird when you get to the end and you feel like there's too much space there where that chain is, just slip 1 more half double crochet in it. Alright, we are at the end. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a slip stitch into that first chain to make it nice and round. And I'm going to leave a tail for sewing. And then these do not need long tails because they're just getting weaved into the back. But I do want to secure them. So I'm going to kind of tie them together. There. So these will all get weaved in. And then this one will get weaved in. And then we'll have the one long one to sew. I will be back after I have those weaved in and the second tire made. And we will continue getting this finished. Okay, we are back and we're getting ready to sew on our appliques, so the stop sign and the tires. I line up the stop sign with that top black row and putting it right at the end. Sewing it, you just use whatever is preferred stitching method. There's no right or wrong way with this. You just want to make sure that it is secured on the cozy or sleeve, whichever you prefer to call it. And now I'm just continuing to get it all the way around. Once I finish stitching, I will turn this piece over and tie it off and weave in the end. That way it doesn't go anywhere. What I'm doing right here is actually moving my needle through one of the next stitches because where I ended it was a big hole since it's crochet. And I wanted to make sure that knot wasn't going to wiggle or move, so that way the stop sign was super secure. All right, now we are going to move on to the front and back tire. The front tire is going to go right in the front underneath the stop sign, but a little forward as you see me pointing to the end of that black row on the in the third row. And then I'm going to do the same as before, as I did with the stop sign, and start to stitch it into the piece. Having it flat like this makes it so I won't stitch in across. As I'm going around, remember you want some of that tire hanging off of the coffee cozy. And when you do that, your needle will line up at the tip edge of the cozy with the gray. You're going to want to skip over the gray and make sure that your stitches are going into black only. Otherwise, your stitches will show in the gray part of the tire in the front. And once you get this secured, again, you're just going to want to tie it off in the back and weave in that end. I was originally going to go off camera for this second wheel, but placement is everything to make sure that you have a nice smooth look with this. So for the second wheel, you will see on screen where I place it. There we go. Now to our last tire. We are almost done, guys. So what I'm about to do is I'm going to count the black stitches in that bottom row. And it's 7 roughly. It's not a perfect science for this. It doesn't have to be. But you count around 7, which puts you right up against that second window on the bust that I just pointed to. You want that second tire to be around under that second window. Once you get it placed where you want, again, you'll just get your needle on the thread, yarn string, and start sewing it into place as well. Again, with this, just make sure that you're not putting those stitches into the gray part of the tire because it will show and then you won't have that nice finished look. As I'm finishing up again, I will tie it off in the back to secure it and weave in the ends. We are almost done, guys. Okay, now all the parts are on here. All we have to do is sew it together. Now, when you go to sew it together, first, you need to do this back stitch. I got a little ahead of myself. So we're going to do the back stitch with this. You pull off a long piece of thread from your black skein and attach it to your needle. And then you're going to shape the bus. It is easier to do it flat like this, as I had mentioned before, but it can be done if you already have the cozy sewn together. So when you're doing the back stitch in crochet, to make a line, it can be tricky, as you will see, because you have to position where you're putting the string very carefully, or else it will get jagged naturally due to the holes that naturally occur with crochet. But the purpose of doing a back stitch is to make a line. So I went down, and now I'm going to go back under the work and go forward a little bit to then go back to that previous first stitch I made. And that is a back stitch. I'm going to continue moving up along the cozy until I get right about above the red stop sign. I just kind of eyeball it to where it feels good, and I will start to slightly angle my stitches to then go towards the stop sign. In the written instructions, there are details on this to refer to if you end up deciding to purchase it. So right here I'm going kind of at an angle to curve my stitch and take it towards the stop sign, as I mentioned. And I don't want to touch the stop sign, I just want to get close to it so then I can turn and go up towards the top of the cozy. Right there I was making sure I was pulling the string tight so that way it wasn't loose in the back or the front, because then I'd have random loops. And if you have random loops, then you're going to have to do tie-offs and weave in extra ends that shouldn't be necessary. So definitely make sure that your thread as you move along this is nice and tight. So right there I'm starting to find how I want to angle it up to do the last part of this cozy. And I can continue this back stitch all the way up to that black row at the top. And again, once this is finished off, we will tie it off in the back and weave in the ends. That leaves us with just the 3 ends left on this to have to do anything with, which they need to be sewn together. And we have a school bus. So as I get that weaved in, as I was mentioning earlier, you want to make sure that when you're doing this and you're sewing all this in, you want to have You want to look at the front and the back, but you want to make it so you can't see your stitches super well when the person using this cozy uses it. You want to look as seamless as possible. So what we're going to do is we're about to fold this piece in half, but we're going to fold it so the outside is inside, so that all of our stitching lines are in the back of our piece. Now we're going to start with yellow because it is the biggest meat of this edge. So we'll have the majority of the cozy put together by starting with yellow, and it'll make it so it doesn't fight with us and move around when we go to do the black. Now what I'm about to do right there is I'm putting my finger in between the two pieces to see how much gap is in between my stitches to see if I need to make another stitch. Whether you want to do a whip stitch or crosses or whatever, it doesn't really matter so long as the stitches are on this side so they're not really seen and you're getting full coverage going down the row. So that way it's nice and secure and there's not holes when it gets flipped right side out. And as you work down, you just want to continue to make sure that everything's lining up. Both the edges are against each other and you don't have it at some weird angle. That way as you're sewing, it's a nice straight line. As we finish up with the yellow, again, we're just going to tie it off like we did with the stop sign and the tires. And we'll weave in that end and then grab the closest black string and do the couple of stitches in that. Because it's only one row on the top and the bottom that is black, you might only have to put in 2 stitches, depending on how it's coming together. This bottom one, I did have to put a couple more stitches in it, but that was just so I felt like it was nice and secure. But the top stitch, I only did 2 and then tied it off. This is super quick and you'll feel so excited to have it done. Depending on the speed in which you crochet will honestly depend on how long this takes you. The first time will always take the longest as you're learning the pattern, but it definitely should not take like a whole hour. He was not wanting to play right there. But I got it, and now I'm going to tie it off and move to the next one. The last one. And while I do focus on coffee a little bit in this and tell you what coffee I'm drinking during these videos, due to the length of this tutorial, I will be foregoing that this time. I will tell you that I was drinking Bones mudslide coffee. That's it's Oogie Boogie. It's Nightmare Before Christmas themed with Oogie Boogie for the mudslide coffee from Bones. I will put a link in it down in the description below. And I was using amaretto creamer with it, which I wasn't sure how that would do at first, but it was really good. And then next time I'll show you the coffee mug. The coffee mug was super cool, but I know that after watching so much of this, you are going to be excited and done. And there it is. We are done. Snip. And now we'll turn it out right side out and give it a good look and try it on our tester coffee cup. Thank you again for coming and watching this. And if you have any tutorial or ideas you would like to see me do, please leave those down in the comments. Share and like this, subscribe. I'm going to do a giveaway for one of these with other stuff I make that I will put in a pile until I hit 100 subscribers. So once we hit 100, I will do a giveaway live on here for you guys to see what lucky person's going to win it. So there you go. They can, a whole bunch of them.